Dear Libra, money and death are closer than you think, just not in the way you've been taught to fear them. In fact, what you're about to discover may completely redefine what security and endings mean to you. If this message found you today, it's not by chance. This video was created for you, not to predict doom, but to help you see through the illusions of money that enslaves, of safety that suffocates, and of a life that's no longer true to your soul. Today, we're going to look at what's really coming toward you, and why you shouldn't ignore the signs any longer. You may have noticed it already, haven't you? Waking up in the middle of the night with your heart racing. Staring into the mirror and wondering if the person looking back still feels like you. The routines you once clung to for safety, now they feel hollow, almost imprisoning. That's not anxiety. That's not restlessness. That, Libra, is your soul trying to get your attention. And if you've been hearing a quiet voice inside whispering, something has expired, that's not a warning. That's a sacred invitation. This is Zodiac Whisper Tarot, and my purpose here is simple: to help you read the signs your own soul has already seen. What you're about to receive isn't just a horoscope. It's a mirror. A portal. A choice. Because the truth is this: we are stepping into a chapter where the things we once called security, a job, a relationship, an income, even a belief may begin to collapse. But collapse isn't always destruction. Sometimes, it's construction in disguise. Sometimes, God tears down a structure not to punish you, but to set your spirit free. You've been strong for so long, Libra. You've kept the peace. You've balanced everyone else's emotions. But now, something deeper is shifting. Something sacred. You're being asked not to play a role but to live your truth. The question is, will you choose what looks safe? Or will you choose what feels free? Let me take a moment to thank you deeply for being here. Every like, every comment, every time you share this space with others brings you closer to your spiritual tribe and helps this channel continue to deliver the kinds of messages that don't just inform, but transform. I don't take your time lightly. And I promise you what's ahead in this reading is unlike anything you've heard before. So Libra, if you're still watching, I know something inside you is resonating. Drop the number 717 in the comments if you feel like something in your life is unraveling in ways you can't explain, but you sense it's leading to something more real, more honest, more free. That number will not only mark your soul's confirmation but let others know they're not walking this path alone. So, stay with me until the end. Because what the universe is about to reveal isn't just shocking, it's sacred. Let's begin. Sometimes, the stillness that used to comfort you starts to feel unsettling. For Libra, a sign born to seek balance, it can be confusing when that balance starts to feel empty. You've always known how to walk between peace and chaos, to bring harmony where others fall apart. But when the silence around you begins to echo with something deeper, an ache, a tension, a pull you can't name, it's no longer just quiet. It's a message. There are moments when your body wakes before your mind can catch up. The clock blinks 3:17 a.m. Your heart is racing, your breath uneven, yet nothing bad has happened. These are not signs of danger. They are signals from your inner world. From an energetic perspective, what you're experiencing is not a breakdown but a breaking open. The veil between who you've been and who you're becoming is thinning. And the universe, as it often does when you're on the edge of a major shift, begins to whisper through your very biology. Astrologically, this stirring often aligns with the influence of a full moon, or more specifically, when the full moon moves through your 8th or 12th house. These are the domains of release, endings, deep psychological transformation. It's no accident that the moon, ruler of the emotional body, pulls at your sleep patterns, your moods, and your sense of safety. You may find yourself unusually sensitive, nostalgic, or restless, unable to numb out the way you once did. That's not weakness. That's clarity finding its way through your emotional fog. And then there's numerology, an ancient language your soul understands even if your conscious mind doesn't fully register it. Have you been seeing the number 9, or the number 10 lately? Repeating, almost teasing you? These numbers are sacred endings and powerful beginnings. The number 9 carries the energy of completion, release, and wisdom through surrender. The number 10 represents rebirth, a new cycle beginning where the old has been fully dissolved. These numbers don't appear randomly. They appear when your soul is already in motion, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. You may not have realized this, but the reason you're feeling so out of place lately is because your soul no longer fits inside the life you built when you were trying to be okay. It's like wearing a coat that used to warm you, but now it itches and weighs you down. That's not failure. That's evolution. And sometimes, God removes what you used to rely on it to punish you, but to prepare you. What feels like a disturbance is often divine disruption. The ending of something that no longer serves you is also the beginning of something that will finally allow you to serve yourself in a higher, truer way. Just because it's quiet, doesn't mean nothing's happening. Stillness is often where the miracles begin. Perhaps you've prayed recently, not even with words, but with that deep longing inside, the kind that whispers, "I want more. But I don't know what more looks like yet." That prayer has been heard. Even when you don't know what to ask for, your spirit is already reaching, already receiving. So no, Libra, you are not lost. What you are is in between. Between chapters. Between breaths. Between the person you once had to be and the one you're finally allowed to become. This in-between space may feel confusing, but it's also sacred. It's the hallway before the door opens. It's the pause before the next line of your story is written. And the trembling you feel? It's not fear. It's alignment. If this part of the message speaks to you, I invite you to comment below and type in the number 9 as a quiet affirmation. Let the community and the universe know that you're not resisting the change anymore. You're listening. You're ready. You're beginning. There are moments in life when what once felt like safety begins to feel like suffocation. And Libra, with your deep longing for balance and harmony, you often choose peace over conflict even when that peace is only surface deep. But now, something deeper is asking for your attention. Because the truth is, not every opportunity that looks like a lifeline is meant to save you. Some were only sent to test you. You may find yourself offered something sooner, perhaps it's already here. A promotion, a partnership, a return to something or someone familiar. It may seem promising. It may promise security, stability, and even a sense of control. But if you quiet your mind and listen deeper, does it make you feel more alive? Or a little smaller? In tarot, the devil paired with the 4 of Pentacles paints a powerful picture. These cards don't scream danger. They seduce. They whisper comfort in the form of attachment. They represent the golden cage where what holds you appears to protect you, but in reality, limits your growth. And Libra, it's easy to stay in the golden cage when it's polished and admired by others. But deep down, you may already feel what it's costing you. Sometimes, people stay in the wrong job, relationship, or belief system not because it nurtures them but because it's familiar. Because it doesn't ask them to risk. Because it gives them something to hold, even if it quietly erodes their soul. And while it's easy to judge ourselves for staying too long, I want to offer you a gentler perspective. Maybe your soul wasn't ready to leave before. But now, it is. There's a quiet kind of courage that comes with walking away from what you've outgrown. And not because it failed, but because you've grown enough to see it clearly. From the outside, your life may look put together. But the soul doesn't lie. It knows when something no longer fits. And often, it will speak through subtle signs, a sense of emotional numbness, physical exhaustion, or a quiet longing that you can't quite name. Those signs are not inconveniences. They are invitations. From a spiritual psychology standpoint, what you're encountering is a friction point between comfort and calling. One offers immediate relief. The other asks for long-term alignment. And while God doesn't always intervene with thunder or lightning, there are moments when He gently allows certain doors to close not as punishment, but as protection. Sometimes, unanswered prayers are the greatest form of mercy. Even in the context of everyday faith, we are taught that freedom doesn't come from having more, it comes from serving what is true. And if something you're holding on to demands that you silence your truth, dim your light, or trade peace of mind for a paycheck, then maybe it's not really a blessing. Maybe it's a beautifully disguised distraction. So take a moment to reflect. Are you still holding on to something because it feeds your growth or just because it feeds your fear of change? And if you let it go, what might be possible? It's not a question to answer quickly. It's one to hold in your heart and return to again and again until the answer feels undeniable. If you've ever walked away from something that seemed good on paper, but felt wrong in your body, then you already know this terrain. You've already proven that you have the courage to choose the invisible path, the one that may not be validated by others, but is deeply affirmed by your own peace. Libra, your freedom is not found in what you keep. It's found in what you no longer need to cling to. If these words resonate with something inside you, I invite you to share your truth in the comments. Write, "I choose peace over false safety," as a declaration not just for the algorithm, but for yourself. And for those who will read it and feel less alone. Sometimes the deepest transformation doesn't come from something new entering your life but from finally letting go of something that has long stopped serving you. Libra, as someone who values connection and meaning, you often hold on it just to people or places, but to roles, routines, and ways of being that once gave you purpose. Yet there comes a point when your inner world begins to whisper the truth. This version of your life may still look polished on the outside, but inside, the foundation is no longer whole. Picture a beautiful house with elegant walls and shining windows, admired by everyone passing by. But inside, beneath the paint and polished floorboards, termites have quietly eaten away the structure. Nothing collapses at first. Everything appears fine. But deep within, a silent collapse has already begun. That house is a metaphor for the version of yourself you've been living in. Not because you've done something wrong but because you've outgrown it. And now, the walls no longer echo your truth. Astrologically, Libra is currently passing through the energy of the 8th house, see a place ruled not only by death, but by profound metamorphosis. This isn't about the end of your life. It's about the end of a chapter that no longer carries life. In cosmic language, the 8th house is where we surrender control in order to find deeper power. And surrender doesn't always mean giving up. It often means giving into the truth we've tried to ignore. Death, in this context, isn't about physical loss. It's about energetic release. It's about finally saying, this no longer fits who I've become. Whether that's a job that no longer aligns with your soul, a relationship where you feel like a stranger, or a belief you've outgrown but feared questioning, this moment is here to offer you release, not ruin. There's a quiet bravery in recognizing that pretending is its own kind of grief. You may not be weeping. You may still be smiling. But your soul knows when it's living inside a shell of a former truth. And the longer we hold on, the more we delay what is truly meant for us. Even in real life, I've seen people cling to things not because they hold love but because they fear emptiness. Like the mother who keeps her child's clothes in the closet 10 years after the loss, not as remembrance, but because she cannot face the space those items leave behind. But emptiness, when embraced consciously, isn't a punishment. It's a holy space. It is the space where the new can begin. In self-healing work, we know that grief is not a one-time experience. It is the stretching of the soul when it's making room for something truer. And sometimes, the death we face isn't about losing someone. It's about losing the version of ourselves that was built to survive a life we no longer want to live. If you've been feeling the urge to tear something down, to walk away, to remove yourself from the familiar just because it no longer makes you feel alive, you're not breaking down. You're becoming real. Your soul is not tired from life, it's tired from pretending. And that exhaustion is sacred. It means you're ready to stop negotiating with false comfort and start living in full alignment. You're allowed to grieve the version of your life that kept you safe, even as you step toward a life that sets you free. Let that be okay. And if this moment speaks to something deep inside you, share with me in the comments. I release what no longer lives. Let those words carry your energy forward, into the freedom that's already waiting. There are times when what appears to be a blessing is actually a test in disguise. Libra, with your refined taste and appreciation for harmony, you naturally attract opportunities that are beautiful, intriguing, and full of promise. But beauty and promise alone do not always equal alignment. In this season of your life, the question is no longer, what can I have, but rather, what truly matches the peace I seek? Energetically, you are standing at a spiritual fork in the road. The tarot cards 7 of Cups and the Hierophant echo this very moment, a flood of options that each seems shiny, but not all are grounded in truth. Some may be dressed up as business proposals, financial offers, or unexpected support from people in your past. They may come in the form of a once-in-a-lifetime chance, or an open door that feels like it was left just for you. But underneath the surface, the soul asks you to pause. To not be seduced by the urgency of the opportunity, but to listen to the quiet, steady voice within. The Hierophant reminds us of something sacred. When you act out of deep inner wisdom rather than pressure, you honor both your truth and your timing. Not every green light is meant for your vehicle. Some are there simply to see if you'll rush ahead or remain grounded. The law of attraction teaches that manifestation is not about attracting everything but about attracting what resonates with who you really are. What looks good may not feel good. And if you're honest, Libra, you already know the difference. Before you say yes, breathe. Ask yourself, does this make my body relax or contract? Will accepting this help me sleep more peacefully at night? Or will I stay awake questioning it? These are not questions your logic alone can answer. They live in the heart, in the nervous system, in the breath. You have every right to take time, to feel deeply, to delay a decision until you are at peace with it. In real life, I've seen so many people jump into something out of fear of missing out only to later realize they were stepping into someone else's story, not their own. Whether it was a contract they didn't read closely enough, a relationship they accepted out of loneliness, or a job offer that only fed their ego while starving their soul, the regret wasn't in the no, they didn't say, it was in the yes, they gave too quickly. You don't need to chase. You need to choose. God does not reward speed. He blesses discernment. And oftentimes, when you pause before making a choice, what's not meant for you will fall away on its own. What remains? That's your answer. Even the most logical decisions can still cause inner conflict if they don't match your frequency. And sometimes, the most irrational leap can bring peace if it's aligned. That's why peace not payoff is your clearest compass in this moment. There is nothing wrong with wanting abundance, success, or opportunity. But if you have to abandon your values, or silence your discomfort, it may not be the path of expansion you think it is. So ask yourself, gently and without pressure, do I want gold in my hand, or peace in my heart? Both are valid, but only one will carry you into the next chapter with freedom, not fear. If this resonates, I invite you to share in the comments, I choose peace over pressure. Let your voice be heard, not just for you but for someone else who might need the courage to pause, too. What looks like the end is often just the beginning in disguise. Libra, your journey through endings has not been without meaning. And as we move deeper into this sacred unfolding, you're beginning to sense that rebirth doesn't require you to become someone new, it simply invites you to become more of who you've always been beneath the layers of performance and protection. This isn't about reinventing yourself. It's about remembering yourself. Like a seed buried deep beneath the earth, nothing seems to be happening from the outside. But inside, in the stillness, in the dark, life is stirring. A new root pushes through the soil, invisible yet powerful. In the same way, your soul has been quietly preparing for something greater, something more aligned, more honest, and more nourishing. But for that growth to take root, something first had to die, the illusion, the role, the routine that no longer reflected the truth of your heart. Saying no to what is no longer meant for you is not a failure. It's a sacred act of self-respect. The idea that letting go is weakness is one of the oldest lies we've been taught. In truth, it takes far more strength to walk away from what once gave you comfort than it does to stay out of fear. This chapter is about spiritual maturity. It's about understanding that your peace is more valuable than your image, and that your inner alignment is more important than external approval. So yes, something will be lost. A title, a dynamic, a path you thought was forever. But not because you're being punished or left behind. It's because something bigger is trying to take root. And there simply isn't space for it in a life that no longer fits. This isn't about breaking, it's about making room. It's about clearing out what's no longer alive, so your soul can finally breathe again. In the healing process, there's a moment when you stop trying to fix what's dying and start listening to what's being born. That moment is now. And if you've been feeling the ache of grief, even if you can't name exactly what you're grieving, it's okay. Grief isn't just about people. It's about identities, illusions, and versions of ourselves that we built just to survive. You may find yourself mourning a dream, a job, a version of love you now realize wasn't real. Let yourself feel it. Because as the Psalm says, those who sow in tears will reap in joy. There is purpose in the pain. There is promise in the letting go. You've tried being who others needed. You've tried staying where you no longer belong. And none of it has brought the peace you've craved. So now, you're being asked not to begin again but to stop pretending. That's all. You don't have to make a grand leap. You don't need to rebuild everything today. You just need to allow the truth you already know to rise to the surface. In times of spiritual transition, it's easy to question everything. But the questions themselves are part of the rebirth. They signal that your soul is awakening. And while it may feel like you're unraveling, you're actually being reshaped gently, wisely, and with deep divine timing. You're not late. You're not lost. You're simply unfolding. If this resonates with you, I invite you to write in the comments, "I welcome my rebirth." Let those words anchor your transition. Not just for you, but for someone else who may be watching in silence, needing permission to begin again. This is your turning point, Libra. And you don't have to start over, you just have to stop holding back. Libra, if you've made it this far, I want to honor you for your open heart, your willingness to listen, and your quiet courage to sit with truths that aren't always easy. You didn't arrive here by accident. Something in you was already calling out for a message that could meet you where you are. And while I may be the one speaking, what you've really been hearing is the voice of your own soul, finally being acknowledged. You don't need permission to begin again. You don't need anyone's approval to choose peace, to choose truth, to choose yourself. The very fact that you're still here, still breathing through the tension of becoming, tells me that you are more ready than you know. No one can force awakening, but when it begins to stir inside of you, it's impossible to ignore. Let me ask you gently, with no pressure, just honesty, are you living in alignment with who you really are? Or simply maintaining what once made sense, even though it no longer does? Are you showing up each day for a life that reflects your truth, or just surviving a version of life that feels comfortable but unfulfilling? The truth is, nothing and no one is holding you back now except the belief that you have to wait. Wait for clarity. Wait for the right time. Wait for someone to understand you. But, beloved Libra, transformation doesn't need applause. It just needs action. Quiet, steady, intentional action born from love, not fear. And maybe that first action is something as simple as closing your eyes, placing a hand on your heart, and saying to yourself, I am allowed to change. I am allowed to be free. Or maybe it's finally speaking a truth you've silenced. Saying no without guilt. Saying yes without explanation. Releasing what has expired, even if it once saved you. I know this journey isn't linear. Healing never is. You will have days of clarity and days of confusion, moments of light and moments of doubt. But through it all, you are not starting from zero. You are building on the quiet wisdom that has always lived inside of you, waiting for space to bloom. So here's your gentle invitation, Libra. What would your life look like if you stopped pretending, even just for one day? What would you create, choose, or walk away from, if fear wasn't in the driver's seat? What version of you is waiting just behind the final layer of self-denial? That's the person your soul is ready to meet. That's the life your light is ready to illuminate. If this message has stirred something in you, even softly, I'd love for you to leave a comment below that says, "I choose light and peace." Let it be your quiet affirmation, your soul's signature. And if you feel someone else might need to hear this today, share it with them. Not as advice, but as an offering. As a ripple of healing. Thank you for walking this journey with me here at Zodiac Whisper Tarot, where your spirit is always honored, and your truth is always safe. Your presence here means more than you know. Every like, every comment, every moment you spend in this space helps us continue sharing messages that uplift, awaken, and remind us all of the light we never lost, only forgot for a while. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be real. And I promise you, that's more than enough. Keep choosing the light, Libra. It's already choosing you.